Alright, so hello there YouTube. So this is my finished product for the 1974 Dead by Daylight Leatherface conversion. So for the eyes, so I'm just going to flat out and say it right now. For the eyes, I really could not get the eyes to look as dark as I'd like them to without making them look almost like eyeshadow. It was extremely difficult to get these eyes to be really black without it, again, looking like it was fake. A lot of what's in the video game is done with shadowing, and it's not actually really makeup. But I knew this from the start. That the eyes in the video game are a lot more of a shadow cast than it is black paint or makeup or what have you. But I'm still impressed with the way this came out. Either way, it's 10 times better, and it looks a hell of a lot more movie accurate to the 1974 film than I would ever imagine. I mean, the only added details I added what appears to look like fresh, it's going to be weird to say, fresh flesh wounds across the stitching here. So I've added red paint to mimic that it's been cut freshly, a little bit different than from the 1974 film, but it's just an added touch. It's basically my version, if I'd want to call it that, of my Dead by Daylight version. So it turned out a little bit different than what I'd anticipated, but in all honesty, the results were still very impressive in my opinion. So a few of the things that I've experimented and had to buy. So we're just going to start with the eyebrows really quick. So the eyebrows, I've ripped off the old ones. These are actually real hair. It's actually my own hair, believe it or not. So this is real hair. I had to trim up my hair. My hair was actually getting pretty, it was splitting a lot, so I decided I was going to trim up my hair. My girlfriend goes, hey, why don't you actually use that for your Leatherface mask? You can actually probably turn that into real eyebrows. And I was like, you're kind of right, I could probably do that, and so I did. So I trimmed it up. What I did was I got into the eyebrow shape that I wanted, how much hair I would need, and then I would cut each end, and then I used Elmer's rubber cement to glue it onto the mask. You can pick this up at Walmart, Kmart, Target, any local retail store, honestly, in the stationery section. And so that's how I got the eyebrows to be glued onto the mask without them looking, without the glue showing, because it dries clear, so that's pretty nice. And again, we've discussed the hair. I've trimmed it up. I've used black spray paint that you can get in the Halloween section. At this time it is November, but you can buy this stuff online as well, and probably elsewhere. I've used a variety of different paints. Here's black, brown. I didn't use brown too much, but I did need to use this along with white to get the brownish tone to the mask, because obviously this has been repainted, as I was saying I was going to do. So what you're seeing is the whole mask has been repainted, and a lot of this gray tones in here has actually been black paint as well. It's basically the shadow cast that I've done for the mask. So yeah, you will need black, brown, white, and red if you want to do a fleshy red tone. Now I could also give him more of a rosy flesh color as well into the skin. It's going to be very hard to do something like that. I've tried using a cup, and right now it's been a lot of black in there, but basically mixing water and the paint together, you can mix them together to give it more wet, and so you can brush it onto the mask and then get a cloth and blot it off. I realize that doesn't really work all too well if you've already painted the mask. I've seen some people do that with acrylic paint, but if you've already painted the whole mask and you try doing that with acrylic paint, it doesn't like to stick to the already painted mask, if that makes sense. If you paint it directly just onto latex, then it will come out a lot better. So with that said, here are the brushes that I used. Again, just going over them. So all these craft supplies I got at Michael's. Every single thing I've gotten pretty much from Michael's. For the Q-tips, so the Q-tips, I bought these recently too. It's a new thing that I bought for the mask. So basically for the Q-tips, what I was using the Q-tips for was when I had paint on the stitching, I was using Q-tips and alcohol I realized that these are actually kind of pointless. And I would take the alcohol and, you know, get the alcohol wet on this. I'd use spray alcohol, spray the end of the Q-tip, and then I would basically rub onto where the black stitching was. I realized that this was kind of getting pointless because what it was doing is it was getting alcohol on the already painted part of the mask, and what alcohol does with latex is it completely tears it off of the mask, so it was actually just defeating the purpose. And so what I had to do was individually repaint these black along the whole mask. So I mean, it was whatever. I was hoping to keep the original paint from the mask, but it just turned out to be more of a mess doing it that way. So Q-tips, you don't really need them. You could use one of these if you're trying to do some finer details, like say you spray alcohol onto the mask and you don't like how much black you got into the corner of that crevice. You just kind of lightly take the alcohol, that would be on the Q-tip, and you just lightly kind of just press it up against the mask until you get some of it removed. So you could do that. Let's see, you know, I also use sponges. You can use the, take a sponge, cut it in sections, and when you've applied some paint in specific areas, you can blot it onto the latex, and it could also give it more of a shadow casted effect. But yeah, those are the only a few additional things that I bought for this, was the Q-tips, the rubber cement, and the alcohol. So just keeping that out there for you. For the teeth, as you remember, this was the molded piece that would sit in here. We decided we were going to remove it, so we did. So I might just throw this away. However, I also might keep this because so here's some goofy teeth that I just bought from my local retail store. What I might do with the teeth, because these are a little meh as far as the paint goes on these teeth. I don't know if my camera will focus, but it has green in there and this yellow piece in there that I just didn't really like. So what I'm thinking I can do, which could be a next step in a next video, but for now this is my finished final product for the mask, and I'm counting this as a finished final product, is I could cut out these teeth individually out of this mouthpiece, and what I could do is glue them on to these instead, if it will allow me to, and if it's long enough, or maybe I have to cut some of the plastic out of this, I don't know. But essentially this just goes into your mouth, and I'll show you a picture what the mask actually looked like on my face. However, you're not going to see the red stitching, the red blood coming out of the mask, but everything else you'll see. I just did the red paint yesterday, and Halloween was already coming up, so I just wanted to hurry up and wear the mask. I got a little bit lazy and I didn't want to add the final red paint. Got a little busy as well, so but I'll show you a picture of that right now. And alright, so you've seen the picture. It's basically a twist. The costume that I had was kind of like a spin-off costume. It was a costume that I put together, you know, the tie, the collar, all of it. It was basically just as if something he would wear, but it wasn't movie accurate, obviously. I don't have the apron, I don't have all the movie accurate stuff, but you know, I kind of like making my own spin-off costumes than I would being true and accurate on the point. I mean, the mask maybe, but everything else, like the costume, I think he would have worn a variety of different costumes. I mean, his Pretty Woman costume, for example, was kind of like something he skewed together, and it didn't really quite make sense, but it still worked, you know. But yeah, I mean, I'm quite impressed with the mask, you know. I might actually add some eyelashes to the mask. I'm not entirely sure yet, but like I said, I'm counting this as the finished and final product of what it looks like. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. No hard feelings, questions, comments, any ideas, maybe what I could add to the mask if you think I should add it. And yeah, have a good one.